Hello dear friends, here we are. This is The Medium's Harvest by Emmanuel, the book that was psychographed by Chico Xavier in 1960 and came to life, published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation in 1961. Emmanuel wrote the book The Medium's Harvest as a tribute to the Medium's book by Kardec. When Allan Kardec published the Medium's book in 1861, the idea was to share guidelines, like manual, for those who would like to be mediums or evokers. So it's important for us to study a book that tells much about who we are. I understand, and you do too, that our humanity on the earth still doesn't understand much about mediumship, and that's natural. Humanity on the earth nowadays barely understands emotions. We're living in an era of emotional illiteracy. People barely know what they're feeling, they barely name it, they are not aware. They react and barely understand what they're doing. Now imagine an ability of the soul when incarnated, expressed as another sense of ours, mediumship. We're yet to understand, but Spiritism is always ahead, always at the vanguard of humanity's progress. And here we are helping ourselves and sharing so we can help one another in this unity, helping each other progress faster on the earth. Shall we? Today, chapter 47, is about clairvoyance. One type of mediumship. Many people claim, oh, I would love to be clairvoyant. I would love to see spirits. As if seeing spirits is any advantage. Because on the earth, a planet in which there's more ignorance than wisdom, I'm not so sure people would be willing to see every single spirit connected to us. It would resemble pretty much like a Halloween movie. You bet. It's not easy and it's not simple. So thank God, majority of people cannot see. And if we do, we don't see it all the time. Because it's not easy. Okay? It's not simple at the level of humanity. Let's see what Kardec said that gave inspiration to Emmanuel to write the chapter today. Emmanuel was relying upon pretty much 2 paragraphs written in chapter 14 of the Medium's book in item 167. This chapter, it's about mediums. If you want to see types of mediumship, read this chapter of the Medium's book, Mediums. And 167 talks about seeing mediums, mediums who see spirits. Kardec then said, seeing mediums are those gifted with the ability to see spirits. There are those who enjoy this faculty in a normal state, who are perfectly awake and who retain a precise memory of what they have seen. Others display this ability only in the somnambulic state, or one close to sonambulism. Let's not forget that sonambulism for Kardec is translated nowadays as trance state, the altered state of the mind. Seeing mediumship is rarely permanent, since it is almost always the result of a sudden or temporary crisis. In this category of seeing mediums, we may include all individuals gifted with second sight. The ability to see spirits while dreaming is also a kind of mediumship, but it does not comprise seeing mediumship per se. Like those with second sight, seeing mediums believe they see through their eyes, but in reality, it is their soul who sees, which is why they can either with their eyes closed or open. They can see either with their eyes open or closed. Thus, a blind person can see spirits as well as someone with normal sight. It would be interesting to perform a study on this issue to see if this faculty is more frequent among the blind. Spirits who have lived on earth as blind individuals have told us that through their soul they had a perception of certain objects and that they were not immersed in total darkness after all. Okay, Kardec of course goes on, but this is enough food for thought so we can understand what Emmanuel wrote to us. We're talking about seeing mediumship. Let's see what Emmanuel says. And I think it's fascinating, to say the least. Chapter 45, Clairvoyance, written in a public meeting on June 27th, 1960. Based on item 167 of the Medium's book, which we just read. Emmanuel then, through Chico Xavier, wrote the following. As in the feeding of the body, vision is different for each one regarding the field of the soul. The digestive tract receives what it is given, but the assimilation of the ingested resource obeys the most intimate disposition of the organic mechanisms. Equally, the eyes see everything. However, the interpretation of what has been seen runs according to the mental processes. That is why every phenomenon of clairvoyance calls for the filtering in the screen of reason. A certain medium informs having seen unforgettable personalities of history. Maybe the medium is telling the truth. Such truth, however, asks for a study of circumstantial conditions. Let us see how delicate the subject is in the sphere of humanity itself. If a single, unsuspecting person were led to see a copy of Murillo's Assumption in a cinematographic arrangement, they would have thought to contemplate the Venerable Maria of Nazareth climbing the heavens surrounded by angels like gracious birds, according to the conception of the admired Spanish painter. The figure of any commander of state in modern times can be seen long distances through television. If then an isolated and unprepared individual watched the talking image, he would be naturally convinced that he had come in direct contact with the commander on the screen. While the mediumistic observation does not spread more widely on the earth, triggering broader conclusions of the so-called general consensus, the clairvoyant message demands specific considerations. By this, we do not mean that this or that mediumistic point should be despised, because in mediumship everything is teaching worthy of attention. We only ponder the need of study, so that the private interpretation does not go to the lines of the illogical. To illustrate our assertion, let us see the rainbow unfolding before the crowd. Indeed, the rainbow appears in the beauty of the 7 colors and it looks like a sublime crown, purposefully drawn by some invisible geometer in the glory of the firmament. However, the celestial wonder does not have any substantial expression because it is structured in a simple game of light. Emmanuel, Emmanuel, Emmanuel. Tonight, he's teaching us very metaphorically, and it requires from us more thinking, and that's precisely what we need to do when we talk about the mediumship of seeing spirits, clairvoyance. Bottom line, seeing is not believing, okay? For us spiritists, seeing is not believing. That's why medium's discretion is a must. We really need to pay close attention when we are seeing spirits. In the sense, attention to ourselves. Because it tells more about us than about them. If we're gullible, believing any and everything, and always seeing super high spirits, we need to really pay close attention to us and think, why do I believe that this is true? No, we're being very serious, because that's what Emmanuel is saying. Every phenomenon of clairvoyance calls for filtering of the screen of reason. So we cannot simply say, oh well, many people say they see Bezerra de Menezes and they feel Bezerra de Menezes' presence. Well, it may be true, because Bezerra de Menezes has lots of people working for him. And they bring the trademark of his vibration. So, it's possible you've seen his team, the projection of his emanations through his team, but not necessarily him. Like Professor Euripides Barçanufo, or any other one. The President of the United States of America may write to us a letter, and they say, oh, the President wrote a letter. Somebody may have written in his name, and he approved of it, because it's teamwork effort. And I say it's the President, but I know that he didn't put it together himself. Maybe, maybe not. Right? So Moses, he thought that the spirit that was coming to deliver the 10 Commandments was God himself, or God herself, whatever pronoun we use, God. Now in Spiritism we know that that spirit came in the name of God. Of course, was a messenger, but was not God. Right? So here we're talking about the need of sharpening this reasoning. How do we do it? First of all, we need to understand who we are. Not believing that we are less than we don't deserve. That's not the point. But humility sharpens our reasoning. Believe it or not, they seem almost like paradoxical, high reasoning and humility. But actually, those who are truly humble, they're very sharp in their reasoning. Very sharp. Because they understand, more than the majority of people on earth, the greatness of life. When we go to the book Thought and Life, and we read the very chapter that talks about humility, which is chapter 24. Let me just read this to inspire us. To cultivate humility is to advance without attachment. Humility is primarily independence, an inner freedom springing from the depths of one's spirit, sustaining its continuous renewal towards goodness. And he says more here. People who wear the crown of humility will gladly work and serve for the general good. Why? Because they are reasoning sharp. They already understand that our lives are not only for ourselves. So the more we increase our levels of the understanding of life and the greatness of God, the humbler we become. And the humbler we become, the greatest is the opportunity for us to not be deceived by the spirits. And ask ourselves, if these high spirits are coming to see us, what is the need for them to be right here and now and not anywhere else on the earth where people are suffering much more? Because the high spirits, they are focusing on what Jesus is focusing. Jesus loves to take care of people who are sick. He loves, not because he's sadistic, but because he's a true therapist, a true doctor. He is pure love, and love goes where it's needed the most. That's why he said, I came here for the sick. And the spirits who are high in their frequency of mental vibrations, they are focusing on doing the good. So super high spirits are not going to be exempt of the intricacies of many problems that are happening on the earth, to stop by when we say a prayer out of the blue and I say, oh, I just saw Chico Xavier. Because there are people who are like this. They say a prayer, I saw Chico Xavier here. It is possible. But the probability of it, I'm not so sure if it's that high. Let's talk about statistics. I like statistics. I used to teach statistics. And I tell you this, thinking of probability will help us discern a little more on our reasoning when we see things as a medium. That's why we do not play the trumpet and say, I see spirits, I see spirits, I see spirits, I see spirits. On the behind the scenes of telling that I see all the time what I see, there is the need to play power over people. So let's open a parenthesis here, okay? Psychologically. In previous lives, many of us had positions of power. Sometimes we owned lands, slaves. Unfortunately, it's sad power, but it's true. And in this life, we come as mediums, spiritist mediums. No lands, no social influence directly, and mediums. But that ego inside of us is still in need of saying something. Still in need of reassuring that people are under our control. They are focusing their attention on us. So what do? I become a medium that is not very discreet and starts telling stories. And I know mediums who would stop people in the middle of the street, people who they do not know, to tell them what they're seeing. Can you believe it? In the middle of the street. And they would go there and say, excuse me, I don't know who you are, but I'm seeing a spirit with you, and I think you should be careful, blah, 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 blah. And they think they're being dutiful. Where is the reasoning? Sometimes we play like this in our spiritist center. Telling people constantly, I've seen a spirit next to you. They say a prayer and they already start saying stuff. They give passes and they already release all the time. No discretion. But the best mediums are discreet. They don't say everything they see. Because if people, rule of thumb, if people had to know everything, God would make them see themselves. Think about this. If everything a medium sees or perceives is supposed to be declared, we think, why wouldn't God have given them the ability to see it all? So we don't say it all. So a must for us is read the book The Messengers by Andrea Lewis and see the dangers of not being discreet, because we can change people's lives. Like a man who starts seeing people's previous lives, start telling them, and at the end of the day, destroy their lives. It's power. So psychologically, we understand why the mediums would fall in the traps of saying it all, what they're saying, because they feel powerful. They feel powerful. So learning that this is not us and that God oversees everything, we should first ask, what is the likelihood, probability again, that I've seen it? In the book In the Realms of Mediumship by Andrea Lewis, through Chico Xavier, Andrea Lewis shows to us seeing mediums who disclose at the end of the meeting different scenarios they picked up. And at first, Andrea Lewis is puzzled. He says, I am not seeing any of what they are describing here. What's going on? And the answer of the mentor was, they entered different frequencies, mental frequencies, and they are describing those frequencies like Emmanuel is describing to us. I may be watching TV right now, seeing the president of a country talking to the world, but looking at us, and I may claim, oh, I saw the president talking to me, but that was a TV. Yeah, he was talking to you too. So who said superior spirits cannot project themselves or project their images or record video messages that can be displayed in mediumistic meetings? Plus, I may well be entering the mental field of those who are being brought up here. I don't know. So, second rule of thumb, if the first one is know that if everyone needed to know everything we see, God would have made them see as well. 2 is Kardec's rule. Observe the facts and analyze the language. Before disclosing and playing power games, let us think and observe. It's, for example, the anniversary of a spiritist center, and a particular entity comes and visits. I'm not going to tell everybody, oh, this person is here, this spirit is here. Sometimes the message is for us. Most likely, as Joana de Angelis said to Divaldo Franco, these messages that I'm writing are first for you. You're the one that shares with others. And certainly the messages are for us, the medium. So if a spirit X comes, let's ask ourselves, why has this happened? We cannot be gullible. But Emmanuel says here, that doesn't mean either that we are going to despise it, because there is a lesson in everything. But he says we only ponder the need of study. Study the phenomenon, like Kardec said. Observe the facts, meaning study them in your mind first. And so that the private interpretation, which is the interpretation of the medium, does not go to the lines of the illogical. If I am constantly seeing Chico Xavier in every spiritist meeting I go, I may change, maybe wash my eyes. Yeah, my eyeglasses. Something is wrong. Because certainly Chico Xavier has more to do than being in the same mediumistic meeting every time. Is it possible? It is possible. But is it probable? The likelihood is not that high. Unless there is a specific project. Then I agree. But probability. Is it possible? Yes. But is it probable? Second question. Probable is another story. And the likelihood will vary, will be relative. And it will be relative. And if there is harmony, it's more likely than not that it is true. But sometimes people claim it in the most disharmonious environments. And then the likelihood of such spirits stopping by decreases. How do we know? Medium's book. The Medium's book by Allan Kardec in item, and I'm opening here right now, 340. I'm opening here now. 41. 341. He says, the conditions for the meetings to have the sympathy of good spirits are perfect commonality of ideas and sentiments. So if you claim Chico Xavier is there, André Luiz, Professor Euripides Barçanufo, but there is no perfect commonality of ideas, it decreased the probability. So it's possible, but less probable. Mutual benevolence amongst members, people really trusting each other and being kind and being good-willed. If that's not the case, possible, but less probable. Rejection of every sentiment contrary to true Christian charity. When people are not tolerant. When I look at somebody like, I don't like when they do this, I don't like intolerance. Even if they don't say it, that creates a field of disharmony, making less probable the connection with the high spirits. A single desire to learn and improve through good spirits' teachings and take advantage of their counsels. So, a desire to learn. Do I want to learn, or do I want to create a field in which I impose my ego? Let's put another parenthesis here. Many spiritist centers or spiritist meetings or spiritist organizations in general are being used by people who are thirsty to exert power, not serve. Not to serve, but to exert power. So they rejoice being there because they have power, not necessarily because they want to serve. And these are cases of people I've seen and I'm not judging because I'm not giving their names, but using their experience as learning for us, for ourselves. I know directors of spiritist centers who used to come at a spiritist meeting 10 minutes before it started. They were presiding the meeting, and they would leave right after it finished, not willing to mingle with anybody. For them, it was almost like a job duty. Go there, do the meeting, leave. They didn't care about the people, the incarnates or the discarnates. They never participated in mediumistic meetings. And again, we're going to repeat. A spiritist center, serious and well-aligned, has all of its directors of the board of directors involved in mediumistic meeting. If that's not the case, the center is not really aligned. All of the board of directors should be active spiritists, not theoretical spiritists who study, give talks, do administrative duties, and leave. Spiritist centers are not non-profit organizations per se. Spiritist centers are temples of the soul that have a material parallel as non-profit organization. But the goal is not the fundraiser. The goal is not to reach out to people giving them food, clothes, shelter. The goal of a spiritist center is primarily study and practice of spiritism, which may involve all these other things. But primarily the study and the practice of spiritism, which means the dealing with spirits. So I cannot have a fundraiser director or a director of outreach that does not get involved in the mediumistic meeting. If they are truly spiritists and be directors of spiritist center, they need to be really practicing it with the group in a mediumistic meeting. No wonder we have so many issues going on in our spiritist movement, because people are more concerned about the external things than the service part that begins inside of it. Right? Let me read here. Karina said something to us. Here in Brazil, it feels like Bezerra de Menezes is our neighbor because people see him everywhere, every time. It's crazy here. You're right. And Karina, we don't doubt it is possible that he stops by. Here and there and everywhere. But you agree, right? That he has a team. And for sure, he has his teamwork somewhere and everywhere. Of course. Of course. Having his team with us is great. We need to evaluate. Is it possible that ex-spirit is coming by? Yes, but is it probable? It's another story. Probability is raised up when there is harmony. And harmony is not only existent where there are mediums that are appreciated by the world. Why I'm saying this? Because there are mediums like Professor Eurípides Barçanufo, who lived a very short life, only 38 years of age, in the middle of nowhere, the beautiful Sacramento in Brazil. Many people in Brazil don't know of him. And we know, according to Chico Xavier, that Professor Eurípides Barçanufo is the spiritist medium of highest elevation that has incarnated in Brazil, superior to Chico. But his mission was different. His mission was not to become famous and known in the world like Chico or Divaldo Franco. But do you believe that he received messages directly from Jesus? I'm not going to question whether or not Chico Xavier or Divaldo Franco have already received messages directly from Mother Mary or Jesus. It's possible. But one thing we know, Professor Eurípides Barçanufo had direct contact with Jesus and Mother Mary. In his mediumistic meetings. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Just read his life and you have no doubt, if you visit his city today and see the works, that the legacy of his, you're going to say, I have no doubt that there was high probability to the point that it is certainty that he received those messages. Okay? Yes, so this is food for thought for us. We cannot be gullible. We need to ponder, and observe our interpretation. So just to give everyone one exercise that we have started in 2001 or 2 at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, and nowadays we extended to the Spiritist Society of Virginia. At the end of the meetings that pertain to the study and the practice of mediumship, we have a one-page form. And if you're interested, just write to kardecradio@gmail.com. We can share with you. You can use it in your group if you want. But we have a form in which we fill out before, when you finish a mediumistic meeting, the first thing is we discuss about what we've perceived, the spirits that communicated. We have this impression exchange. But according to the mentors, they've asked us to do one step before we exchange impressions, to do exactly what Emmanuel is suggesting here. Ponder. We have a form, so before we share, we keep quiet, fill out the form, a form that asks about feelings we have been feeling, about what we've seen, about how we've perceived it, and after we filled it out, then we're gonna share highlights, not everything. Usually 1 or 2 highlights only per person. Because there are people who at the end of the meeting, they stay 30 minutes talking about every single detail that they've seen, they felt, they thought. We cannot do this. It's brief, it's practicing objectivity, and this reflection, the reasoning. So we first do it for ourselves, and then we share with the group. Okay, Dulcinette is saying the director is the first to arrive and the last one to leave. Be the one who cleans and to do the lecture. Exactly. Right? So friends, here we have the challenge for us in the next 24 hours. Let us ponder our perception, because this lesson today is talking about our interpretation of our perceptions. And I cannot give you the homework without explaining one step into this. Our perception happens like this. For example, if it's about touching, there is a stimulus like pinching. The nerves transmit a chemical electrical message that goes to my spinal cord, to the spinal cord, goes up into my brain to cortical areas. I decipher, decode what it is, and I send a message back quickly saying, oh, it's just a pinch. It's okay. If it hurts, I withdraw. If it doesn't, I just stay there. So it requires interpretation, which is processed by the prefrontal cortex. What does that mean? Everything we perceive in our daily lives require the process of our discernment. So Emmanuel is asking us, sharpen up your discernment. Humility is the pathway. How do we do it? In the next 24 hours. Anything we perceive, let us ask ourselves, let me double check on my perception. I'm not talking about mediumship. Any perception. Because there are times in which we enter a room, we don't like the smell. Like children, little children are like this. They perceive a different smell, they're like, that's different smell. And we can tell them, hold on, give yourself a chance. What is this? This is coming from this type of food. What food is this? So give yourself an opportunity to give a second, to take a second opinion from inside of you. Is it really what I'm seeing? So we meet a person, and the first impression is like, I like the person or I dislike the person. Second opinion, double check. So what Emmanuel is asking us is to sharpen up this double checking system inside of us. Not to despise what we're perceiving, but not to be deceived by what we think we're perceiving. Right? Okay? I can share the form with anyone who is willing. Okay, Dulce? So Nora Brazil is asking, what was the name of the doctor, professor you were talking about that you have no doubt Jesus sent a message? Professor Euripides Barçanufo. I'm going to show you a picture of his, okay? This is him. Professor Euripides Barçanufo. The Spiritist magazine is going to be released probably tomorrow, and you can read about him there. He is in the cover of the Spiritist magazine, Nora, and all of you friends. He really is high, and high in terms of evolution in our Spiritist movement, and he is the spirit that said Chico Xavier, and I totally agree according to our research, and we've seen the psychography coming that came directly from Jesus. It's there in the school that he founded, in the archives that are there, and probably this is going to be released after 2020 according to what they said. Where can you get the magazine? Easy. thespiritistmagazine.com. We're gonna release the new one tomorrow, but you can get it free of charge. There is an app, Spiritist Magazine. Open the app, read it from your computer, tablet, anywhere, and soon our website as well. Or you can order your copy and receive the actual copy, paper copy, in your house, and it's gonna be there, okay? All right, friends, so here we have it. Yes, Luis Camargo, he lived, Professor Euripides, only 38 years of love and dedication to the good. That's so true, right? Karina Alice, how are you? Rihanna, beautiful Rihanna. Lea Severo, how are you? Katia, how are you, Katia? Sunshine. Yeah, tomorrow the center's opening, right? Am I right? In Sacramento, California, the Divine Light Spiritist Center. Big hug to you. Many, many blessings. Lea Severo. Paula, how are you, my friend? Teresa Castro. Sol Souza, Angelita, how are you? Narciso, Ceissa, Lívia Moraes, João Bosco, João Bosco, Nora Brasil, Lara Colirri, how are you? Adilson, Dulce, how are you? Márcia Pontel, big hug to you. John Da Rosa, big hug to you too. Luis Camargo, thank you very much. Thank you. And here we have Rudy, mindful perception, paying attention. That's the secret, mindfulness. And let's observe the ego. Because we don't want to be mediums that mess up things and play power games just to feel that they are respected and liked. We need to be liked for who we are, not for who we're playing now or we're performing, right? Yes, sunshine, Sunday afternoon near Sacramento, Divine Light Spirit Center. Many, many blessings tomorrow when we come back, friends. When we come back, okay? Mediumistic faculties, that's chapter 48. And it says, amongst other things, in mediumship, therefore, in mediumship, do not give it the worrisome of admiring or provoking admiration. Let us above all, yes, seek the privilege to learn and the place to serve. You see, every single chapter ties into the other. Tomorrow we're going to talk about mediumistic faculties, when Emmanuel tells us that a spiritual manifestation is distributed to each one for what it is useful. Okay? So, friends, right now, in the next 24 hours, we're asking everybody, let's do this collective homework. Double checking our perceptions, whether mediumistic perceptions or daily perceptions. Because if I am not playing those ego games in my daily life, I will play less of those games as well in mediumistic service. You like the expression? Mediumistic service, that's what Emmanuel is telling us. So let us seek the good, feel the good, visualize the good, and mold the good with all the resources we have at hand. Shall we, friends? Big hug to you, and let's stay together until tomorrow when we meet again for the next chapter, Mediumistic Faculties in the Medium's Harvest by Emmanuel. Thank you, friends.